Good afternoon. This is John McAllister with Coach's Corner, a part of the McAllister Scouting Report. And today, my guest is the head football coach at Cleveland St. Ignatius High School, Chuck Kyle. Chuck Kyle has been in the business for 50 years. Next year, he will have 51, and next year will also be his last year. He is going to be the head coach this fall, brings a wealth of knowledge, many wins, a very successful program, and he's also a very successful English teacher. So I'm excited. And we've been friends a long, long time. And as I will remind him, he believed in me years ago, 30 years ago. He was one of the guys that trusted me with the football recruiting and scouting business long time ago, and Coach Kyle trusted me. For that, I've always been thankful. Thank you. Sit back and enjoy my video podcast with Chuck Kyle. Coach Chuck Kyle from St. Ignatius High School. How are you today?
I'm fine. I quickly, as you know, I got hit with COVID a few weeks ago. So at this point, I should be free of it, and I'm hopefully it's in the back burner now. It's out of my way, and I can move on to. So the first part of Christmas vacation was not fun. So, but I'm okay. We should roll along.
Good. Well, I have the reason I want you on here threefold. Number one, I want to congratulate you. Number two, I want to recognize you. And number three, I want to pick your brain because you've only been in this business for going on 51 years. And St. Ignatius head coach for 40 years, and you graduated from there. I think you were an assistant coach for 11 years and track coach for 30 years, probably at least.
Well, you'd hire that. Yeah.
I know
1974 or something like that.
I think it's pretty close to 50.
Yeah.
But anyway, and then the other thing is you are not one of those guys that teach strength training during the day as a teacher or health or supervision. You teach English, and I'm prejudiced because I taught English, and it's a great subject. Tell me about English class. What's the best thing about teaching English?
Well, I wish the professors and the education professors, when I was in college, would have told me then how many papers you have to correct and essays. Okay. That's a cure for insomnia because it's, you're reading the same, it seems like the same essay for, how many times. And my right thumb certainly has arthritis from all the run over sentence and all that stuff you're writing on papers, right? For how many years? It has a nice lump right there. Okay. They didn't tell me about that. But what do I like? I do really enjoy seeing kids get better, first of all, at their writing skill, because that doesn't go out of style. No. Once you learn that, it's like riding a bike. I swear to God, you know that. Once you learn to be a good writer, you're going to continue to be a good writer. And we are in the world of communication now, right? It's video. Well, yeah, but people write what they're, write scripts and the blogs and all that you send out. So we are in the world of writing. And I think still, and I try to make sure kids understand it, when you text someone, write a very fluid, clear sentence. Why not? It still impresses people. Okay. Yeah. But I like to work on that, and literature-wise, I do enjoy. I enjoy. I taught Chaucer and Shakespeare for 30-some years. Okay, now I'm doing more American literature, which I love to tie in with history, and I think kids kind of enjoy the literature kind of shows why things happen in America. So it's good. It's entertaining.
Godfrey, let's talk football now and track,
Okay.
but we'll talk football. It's imperative that people know you're a track coach as well. But and you've been recognized, and I think there was a string. You can help me out. 8 of 9 years back in the 80s that you won state championships, or 90s in there someplace.
Right.
And that was on a roll, and I think that brought St. Ignatius to a little more nationally known. But I think the most impressive thing is that you're concerned about kids and making kids better. Okay, let's talk about making kids better. When you see a freshman or a boy wants to come to your school, what do you look for in let's talk football player, but you can add character and everything else. But this is a football player coming. What are you looking for in him?
Well, first of all, the first thing anyone would notice is that physically where that young person's at. Now, John, and I know a kid will come in as a freshman, and 4 years from now could look a lot different. Okay, right. I mean, just some kids mature earlier, and then they grow another inch or two. That's it, or something, and then there's this skinny little kid as a freshman, but by senior year he's 6'2", and he's 215 or something, and you go, wow, look at him now. But that you should have a sense of potential. First of all, maybe just physically, speed wise. I'm a track coach, and you can help develop speed, but there is some genetic aspects to it. But still, you can certainly make it more efficient. A lot of kids run very poorly, and by working at it, they become better and they get stronger. And again, the kid who runs a 5.240 as a freshman, with commitment, with work, and that kid could get down to a 4.948. And there's a lot of good football players that can run 4.948 and so on. I think, to summarize that, I think when you say 9th grade and 10th grade, I'm never in a major hurry to just slide a kid into a certain position and say, that's it. That's what you're going to do for 4 years. I don't think that's a reality. I think freshman year, I really encourage kids to, okay, first of all, lineman. You're not going to tell me you're a defensive lineman, and don't tell me you're an offensive lineman. You're a lineman, right? I mean, at that point, you know that you're that. Be a lineman. In the next few years, it'll work out, but be a lineman, okay? And a skill kid, are you just a running back? Well, you could be a receiver, running back, DB. There's a lot of things you can do. Of course, the magic position is quarterback, because everybody's going to be, the next, Aaron Rodgers or something like that. Kids do have to be open to growth there, okay? Because gradually they should mature enough to realize, there's only one quarterback out there, and you have to understand that you have to look in the mirror. But having some quarterback experience and having some quarterback knowledge certainly helps in other positions. Receiver wise, a receiver who played some quarterback understands the concept of the pattern more than just, hey, I run a post on this.
Right.
The quarterback can picture the whole, while that guy's running the post, the other guy's running a dig, and this guy's doing a hitch. He sees the whole thing, and that's really important. Or a defensive back who understands the mechanics of a quarterback. You put that kid at safety, free safety, or whatever. He's reading the quarterback well, because he can see what the process is before the quarterback even goes through with the throw. So, but that's a situation where you look and keep conversation, and you become more of a football counselor in that area as you're talking to me about what's needed. Is just, hey, how about trying this position too? And let me explain why. This is what you're showing us. And you
Right.
got to be open to growth that way. There are so many football players that I've had that went on to, Division I football that, they came into the school thinking, well, I'm going to be a quarterback, or I'm going to be, the defensive end sack master, right? And they end up, okay, well, you ended up at guard playing
Right.
for Ohio State. Not bad, okay? But they have to be open to that.
For sure. For sure. I think then the other thing you were talking about, and I think it helps you, is speed. Football fields are pretty big. Basketball courts aren't quite as big. But that speed is so important anymore. Linebackers, and you have one playing at O State, excuse me, O State right now, who's really improved those areas. But I think he's going to be really good. I've always liked him, and I think he's going to be good. I talked to him last 2 Saturdays ago, in fact, and we talked for a minute down at Ohio State practice. Okay, Chuck, what then the next question would be, what do you do to make them better in developing them? Obviously you have excellent coaches, and an old friend, Nick Restivo, retired, but he was an excellent coach. I wanted to mention his name in case he watches this. But how do you develop players? What in developing them?
Well, let's understand something. The game of football is very popular still. It is the biggest spectator sport, the most popular spectator sport there is by far.
Right.
In the world. I mean, it is. I'm sorry, in America especially, but it is. So there's interest in the game. I mean, and kids, who we kidding? I mean, we can talk about all the other sports, and they have, all these little youth camps, kids running around and so on like that. But football still is the spectator sport. So there is interest in it. When a young coach pulls me aside and just goes, hey, I'm just starting my career, just what would you tell me, or could you give me some nuggets of how do I work with these kids, and what should I keep in mind? Here's what I always believe in, and I think it's true. If I don't care if it's 50 years ago or next week, first of all, a kid has to have an interest in football. It can't be dad's interest, and it's got to be he really loves the game. But number two, if that kid senses that the major focus of the coach is to help that kid improve, that the constant conversation is, you can make that tackle better if your head is in this side and you have a little better tackle plan coming in, and you drive it'll be a better tackle. Now let's work on that. And you're making observations. And if that kid senses that you have that kind of interest to help him improve, that's the coach's number one goal, kids will go to battle for you. They buy into it.
Right.
I've seen that even in the classroom, John. I to be honest, if a kid senses that, you're trying to help him with his writing skills or whatever, they get it. They get that, no, this person's trying to help me. He's going out of his way to help me. And I think one thing that turns kids off is that they think, well, here's this coach and it's all about his ego. And if the ego enters the room before the coach, he probably is going to lose the team. He's going to lose the team. Yeah. And that's what I've seen over the years. And that's what ends up happening. You take good football players, you put them in a really hardworking kids, you put them in the batting cage, or you put them on a basketball court, and you're going to go, well, he doesn't really seem to be that great of an athlete. Yeah. But his work ethic and his love for the game puts him on a level where, yeah, he could be a good football player.
Got a chance.
Yes.
Got a chance.
Yeah.
That's really
so.
Good.
I really, I think the advice for any young coach is really take great pride in watching how that kid gets better at his technique. Make that your win.
Yeah.
The games will happen. The wins will happen. You're going to win your share and lose your. But if your team is technically that good and they love and the game and they really understand the technique, that they can see it makes them better. Yes, you're going to be a very good team, and you're going to have kids that really are in tuned to your drills. They're not just filling that 10-minute drill time. A big deal. We got a drill to do. Yeah, la la la. Let's go on. Let's move on. No, that they take value in that. That to me, that goes a long way.
And I haven't coached for quite a few years, but actually, been a head coach for quite a few years either. But I think now it's trickling down, but it's amazing at the college level. And I see it at the high school level. And a few years ago, I saw Ignatius, and I'm sure St. Ed's does it, I'm sure. But you're teaching more skill, more technique, and more, instead of going out and just hammering and going one-on-ones. And I remember going to one of your practices years ago, and I walk away going, man, they spent so much time on breaking things down. They didn't really hit that much. Like you do, but not like the old days.
Oh.
They just, the board drill. The board drill was more to see who the toughest guy was. Right. And they'd block. I mean, you never got anything out of it. But boy, the board drill, or that was a tough one. And in the cage, where if you weren't careful, somebody could hurt his neck, hitting the top of the cage. So I agree with you, and I'm so impressed with that, because that's the way it is now. I mean, hopefully people are doing that. And I used to, guys would say, well, he's not tough enough. Well, if he learns the right skills, maybe he will get tougher. He may not go, and I know you guys have this. He may not take you out in the alley and and beat you up, but he's going to block you. Right. So that's all that matters. So
yeah, John, what you're talking about there is especially rings true with working with youth. And I'm sorry, some of the older, I was taught football by World War II veteran, who went to boot camp. Okay. So honestly, our practices were like boot camp when I was in high school, because they sensed that made them better, right? Yeah. In boot camp. And God bless those guys, what they did and so on. But come on, the science wasn't there about tackling and contact. It wasn't there. So come on, we were all taught, okay, come on, put your nose, when you make that tackle, you put your nose right in there where that football is and stick your neck right in there. Well, it's not that we can't blame those guys. And I'm not, and I'm the young coach, and I was coming out and teaching the same thing because that's what I was taught. But they didn't have the science behind it. Come on, John. I was a running back. I got my bell rung plenty of times, right? You get hit and you go, boy, I hope they don't call me running the play the next time. Whoa, I got to, nowadays that's a concussion and you're out for 7 days, okay? Are you kidding? You'd go to the sidelines, and remember in the med kit, you had ammonia capsules? You remember those? Oh, man, he got a little ding, huh? Get the ammonia capsules, and you smell the stuff, right? And you go, oh, okay, I'm ready to go back in. Coach. I mean, that was the way it was, and that wasn't their fault, okay? No. I mean, science has shown, okay, the brain and the neck muscles, then we have to, come on, if we love the game, then we have to adjust the game. And that's what we must do. We must, because the game is great. It's very important. But we can't be so stubborn, well, this is the way I tackled, so this is the way it is. No, there's clear adjustments, and frankly, it's better tackling than what used to be.
Yeah, there is. And I think it's all trickling down, and I think the late hits and TV newscast would have the best hits of the day. and they'd have guys late hits and concussions and everything else. The one funny one on that, and I go back, I think I'm a couple years older than you, but salt tablets. I remember when you took a handful almost. And we, but anyway, let's go. I want to get what you're so right, and I totally agree. And plus, I've always found out if we're talking about hitting now. If guys are going to hit, they're going to hit. If they're not, they're not. As soon as you go one-on-one and the coach goes by you and to the next group, you're going to take it easy on your buddy a lot of times. Because, I mean, you get the technique down. But anyway, that's really funny. Let's talk. And I was kind of surprised when I saw you doing this because I didn't know where you were with youth football. Okay. When you accepted a position with the Cleveland Browns and working with youth football, but let's talk about that for a minute. Okay. What is it? What's the position? And then what are you trying to accomplish?
Right. Well, my title is a youth advisor.
Okay.
With the Cleveland Browns. And in honest truth, and you can research this, the Browns organization, how many years ago? A number of years ago, saw the need to do exactly what we're talking about, to help youth coaches understand the technique better, just like we were talking about. Right. Here's a guy who played football in high school 20 years ago, right? Well, now he has a son or a daughter, right? A son or daughter, and they're going to enter into tackle football. They did some flag, and now they're going to go into tackle football. And the guy goes, "Hey, I can volunteer to help." Okay, and he shows up at the practice field, and he needs to be schooled a little bit on what changes have taken place with contact, because that guy will come out there and go, "Hey, I remember the first day of high school, we had Bull in the Ring and we had Oklahoma. Let's go find out who the men are." These little kids, right? They haven't played tackle football yet. Well, who's in the front of the line? The guy who had 3 older brothers. I had 3 older brothers. I'm in the front of the line. I'm ready to go. The poor kid who's a good athlete who has 2 older sisters, he never hit anybody. Well, he's in the back of the line, right? And he didn't want to do this yet. But come on, let's prove who manhood is. Anyway, the guy wanted to teach the game, right? That dad, but there's a need to school them up, with what's going on, and to help get the leagues better organized. Help to find out what the youth programs need, and I work with USA Football too, and we work on the just the idea of the football development program, a model. What do you start with? Flag football. It's a great game. There's a lot to learn in flag football. Okay, what's the transition from flag to tackle? That's where all over America a lot of kids stop playing because they don't feel. And the parents don't feel they're ready for tackle football. So what do we have to do to work on that? And we've developed what is called rookie tackle, which is really a nice transition. Is it tackle? Yes, you will be taking people to the ground, but it's a controlled environment. Really, really has gone over very well in the Northeast Ohio area. Each year we're getting more and more youth leagues making that as a transition from flag football to 11-man. And really rookie tackle is like 7 kids out there. There's a lot of rules to it. We can spend a podcast going over that anytime and to explain it, but it's really becoming popular. And the Browns were really interested in it. The Haslams, their grandsons played rookie tackle just last year, as a matter of fact, and they love it. They think this is a great teaching tool to gradually bring the kid to that level of full field tackle 11-man football. So we've been doing a lot of projects like that with the Browns and trying to help in equipment programs, teaching, going over technique stuff, and it's been, I think, very well receptive. I think if you talk to any of the leagues in Northeast Ohio and talk about how have the Browns helped, I think you'd hear a resounding yes, and very enthusiastic yes.
Coach, that's really good. As you've been talking, things running through my mind, because I'm not a great supporter of, I don't know what they call it, little league football, midget league football. It's got to be done right. And I once told a coach here in Upper Sandusky, this is years ago, they had four, I don't know if they even have one or two now, but they had four midget league programs. It was really, really good. And I said, Coach, if your programs are so good every year, why don't you redraft everybody? So one year, Chuck Kyle and I are playing together, and we're losing every game. Okay. So the next year, we're not playing together. We're good friends, but we're competing against each other, and maybe I'm not losing every game, or you're not losing. And it changes regardless of what you say. It changes your mindset. You get beat, get hammered on. And I think the program you're doing is so good. I've actually thought about trying to do something with organized flag football here in Upper Sandusky, and they do a really nice job at Upwards football, but and teach drills. I was at a indoor camp a couple of years ago, and they were like sixth graders, and the dad had 3 footballs, and his son was throwing each one, and he said, "Which one do you really want to use here?" I mean, yeah, 3 different footballs, and the kids, I don't know, but I'm so glad. That's so positive, and I think maybe someday we will talk about that and talk for 30 minutes on just youth football, because if you're doing, and I don't want to blow smoke in your ears, but if Chuck Kyle's doing it and believes in it, and people know your history, it has to be pretty good. I mean, I know you don't have to say anything, but it has to be pretty good.
Oh, thank you.
You wouldn't endorse it, for heaven's sakes.
It's really, look at a progression. Little kids in baseball, right? They start with T-ball, right? And then coaches pitch, they bring them along in a development. Well, come on, John, guys our age, go back 20 years. We just took those kids and put them on a big football field, which they don't fit on it. It was meant for adults. And they had 11-man tackle football. Well, the little kids, they held the snap of the ball, they stood up, and what are we teaching? Come on. It wasn't, come on. Let's do it where it's fun and they learn, right? You bring them along.
Especially now, with parents being more concerned. I mean, sometimes, but the health factor, and we're using that. But
John, I'm gonna, if I may, there's so many, team sports out there, right? Okay, can I show you just very quickly? There's youth, traveling this and traveling that, and they're little kids, and there's hundreds and hundreds. John, there's a statistic out in America that a number of sports, by the time, and I'm not knocking the other sports, they're great, but there are some sports, by the time the kid's a sophomore in high school, he's not going to make certain teams. You're only going to keep, how many sophomores are you going to put on your baseball team or basketball team or soccer? I mean, just go right down the line. They're great sports, but they can't keep 100 guys.
Yeah.
So there's a statistic out there that all those kids that did all those little youth travel, this and that, 70% of them, by the time they get to sophomore year in high school, are no longer on a team sport. Yeah. High school is the time so important to be in a team sport where you work with other people and learn how to do that. Football, talk to any football coach in the state of Ohio or in America. Come on. You mean we could have 80, 90 kids in the football program, 100 kids in football? We'll find ways of getting the equipment. There'll be enough people out there that'll gladly donate to help get those kids because they're on a team.
Right.
And that stays with you. I don't care if you're the second or third team guy. 20 years from now, that second or third team guy probably is the CEO of a company because he learned at a very early age about teamwork.
Yeah.
I'm on a soap opera box right now, giving acting, but that's what football can do, and it's our job to make sure kids can do it. Okay,
I
sorry,
totally
I got
agree.
off my thing there, but
No, I totally agree. And I think anything that I just said it a minute ago, anything that Chuck Kyle says about youth sports, I have to believe because of your, and I want to close here, but a couple things. And I think this is quoted to you, maybe not. If you have that work ethic, you have a chance to be a champion.
right.
And I think that's a tribute. I read it and it's so true. And I think the key word is chance to be a champion. It doesn't say, if you do this, you'll be a hero champion. No, a chance to be a champion. And explain that real quickly to me. And then we'll be done here then.
Okay, so Tom Brady was drafted, what, in the 6th round out of Michigan?
Yeah.
Make sure you take his 40-yard dash time and his vertical jump and judge what kind of football player he is, okay?
The list goes on.
Just keep going on, right? The point of the matter is, if you look, say, at Tom Brady, and here he is, he may play the game till he's 50. That's the way it's going. But look how he's improved over the years. He's got a quicker release now than he did when he was younger. How's that? Right. Why? Because he worked at it. He had a work ethic. Okay. You can go that he's a great example of that. Okay. And it's just work ethic. It gets you so far. And in a way, that's what I hope a kid learns by playing the game of football. Okay. That there's a lot of work and there's no guarantee you're going to be the champion. I'm sorry, but it gives you a chance to be the champion.
Right.
John, you go around in high schools in January and February and go and see who's in the weight room. Okay. See who's in the weight room. And then when you look and you see, well, yeah, this team over here, they got a lot of kids in the weight room in January, February. They're working. There's the work ethic. Maybe you go to some places, there's hardly anybody. Well, the kids that are in the weight room, they're doing it because they may have a chance. And that's what you get. Then
well, Coach Kyle, thank you very much. And I will tell you, the last thing I wanted to do is show my appreciation. When I started my scouting service and recruiting service 30 years ago, you were one of the guys. I don't know if you believed in it, but you didn't lock the door on me. You listened, because I was one of those early guys and people were going, no, I didn't charge anything. I didn't do this. I didn't do that. But you were one of the guys that listened to me. I remember calling you on Sunday nights asking about guys, and you never said, hey, I can't talk now, or your wife doesn't answer the phone and say, he's not here right now. But what I'm saying is I so much appreciate that, because that's a long time ago, and it was a time when there was college prospects of America and all these things, and I tried to do it the right way, and I appreciate that. The other thing I would tell you, and I'll end with this. Now, I want to mention one more. I want to mention, because he's a Facebook friend and I've always loved him. Trent Zenkowitz is one of those guys that developed, went through St. Ignatius, went to Michigan. I think he had a little bit of time in the league, but he's in Chicago area now, and I follow him, and he's done a heck of a job, Chuck. He's one of those guys that is, you're talking about went on. I don't think he's a CEO. He might be, but he's done well.
Yes.
And he's one of those guys you're talking about. I mean, he was also a really good high school, college football player.
Right.
Last thing I read someplace, or was on TV maybe, I was doing a little research. Your daughter said it wasn't a job to him. It was something he enjoyed doing every day. That's hard to beat, Chuck. And I'm not trying to cause drama or anything. I'm just telling you like it is. And that's a compliment. It wasn't a job. It was just something you've done every day.
Right. I always worded that to me, it was a vocation. And
Yeah.
when you don't say, to me, career didn't make that much sense. People bounce around careers, right?
Yeah.
To me, it's a vocation. So it's a deeper purpose. Okay.
Right.
And I've always called it that. I always said that's my vocation. So hopefully if people think about that word vocation, maybe it makes sense.
It sure does. Coach Kyle, thank you very much. I appreciate
Okay,
it.
John. Always good to see you.
Thank you. You're Jeffrey Chaucer.
Oh, Jeffrey Chaucer with a G. It is with a G. Okay.